Hey, it's Birdman for Birdman on the Mountain, hanging out once again at the Pinetop Coffee House and Roasting Company with Mr. Mike Moffenbeyer. How are you?
Doing good, Rob. How are you today?
I'm doing well. So we're going to talk about the business of climate today.
Okay.
And around a couple different climate things. Now, we're not talking climate issues, but we will talk climate issues. But, you know, we live in the White Mountains of Arizona. And it's one of the places where we watch the weather somewhere else to tell how business is going to be for the next week.
Absolutely. Yeah, we watch Phoenix and the Tucson area because we do get a lot of visitors from that part of the country. The hotter it is there, the busier we are here.
When it hits that, it's always the century mark, the 100 degrees. As soon as they break 100 degrees, we're like, oh, cool,
Yeah,
it's on.
It's coming. Yeah, and it does.
And it ebbs and flows for a few weeks, but then it's pretty much, they're here.
So many people have second homes in our community as well. So when the weather starts getting extremely hot down in the valley and down in the Tucson area, those people with second homes migrate up here because our climate is so much milder than it is there.
Yeah, so we went through a winter which was very hard to call winter.
Not much of a winter at all.
Did you shovel snow this year?
Not once.
Yeah.
I didn't have to have my parking lot cleared one time this winter.
Yeah. So you know, and it's weird because we'll go into a dry summer or sometimes a wet summer. We won't know until we get into it. But we're supposed to have another week of cool. So what's been happening? Tell me what's been going on here.
Well, you know, we see a lot of people that have come up here to open up their cabins and check on their places so that they can be ready when it does strike to come up and spend the summer up here. And then you also get into event season. So you start having activities around town and different things that are going on that, tend to draw some tourists up here. I think that, usually the beginning to the middle of May is when things really take off for us here. And that'll run all the way through October.
Okay, so just as we started, you had some regulars that were saying, hey, we're going to be gone for 3 weeks.
Yep.
Because they must have come up and set things up, and they're like, they're going to get 3 weeks to sort it, and then they're going to come back up probably for the rest of the season.
It happens. We've been hearing a lot of that lately.
Okay, and that's earlier than normal. I always warn people that haven't lived here for too long, Mother's Day.
Yeah.
That's once we're past Mother's Day, you're pretty much okay.
It's game on then,
but
right?
Up until then, it's all bets off on whether it'll snow.
Yeah, that's true. Could still happen.
Yeah, I've actually seen it snow, and pretty significantly on Mother's Day, which is weird. But and we've had a June snow once, way back when, but it was sort of like having snow in Mesa, Arizona. It's like it's more of a photo moment than anything else.
While we're on the topic of climate,
thank you.
I'd just like to, climate for my business is affected not just by what's going on within the general marketplace, but what's going on around the world. So as an example, Brazil is in a drought right now. Brazil's the top producing coffee country in the world. And, when they're in a drought, it hurts significantly, drives the price of coffee up. Panama's been under a drought for a couple of years now. So they're having issues with the big ships being able to go through the Panama Canal because there's not enough water to float the giant cargo ships that need to go through there. So they're actually having to go all the way down around, the Horn.
The bottom of the South America. Wow.
Yeah. So these ships are having to travel a great distance further than they have in the past. And they're charging surcharges and extra cost for the extra miles that they're having to put on. Between that and, what's going on over in Iran, the Strait of Hormuz, everybody knows that that's been blocked up pretty much. And also the Red Sea has been blocked up. The Houthis are down there creating a lot of trouble and preventing ships from going that way. So if you think about that, having to go an extra 8,000 miles, it's very costly. And
so the fuel cost is up.
Yep.
The travel cost is up.
Yep. And coffee prices in general are up.
And the supply is down.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's a pretty complicated business. It's funny because I didn't think I'd need to be a geopolitical expert to run a coffee shop. But the reality is you have to pay attention to what's going on around the world because your pricing can fluctuate substantially. I mean, I'm talking about as much as 50% from one shipment to the next one. And then working with our brokers, we have to make sure that they have the product that we need in stock. They call it spot in coffee world. It means it's in their warehouse.
Right.
So it can be on the water. It can be, at the point of origin, or it can be spot. That means it's in the country. So I'm in constant communication with the people that I do business with to ensure that, when it's time for me to order coffee, because I usually order about a 4-month supply of coffee. And
which is, how many pounds is that?
it's about 10 tons of coffee. Yeah. Yeah.
Which is just 2 tons less than the Kit Kats that were stolen in Europe.
Yeah.
I don't even
heard about that.
Yeah, weird.
So, coffee it's volatile. It's the second most traded commodity in the world next to gas. And so, and it's highly controlled. So getting quality coffee, from Sumatra, Indonesia, from Ethiopia, all of the coffee growing regions, from Vietnam, it's pretty complex just to get it here. And my suppliers are doing an excellent job. Of keeping in touch with me if they see any upcoming supply chain issues. And we pivot once in a while, and we might have to get some replacement coffee with similar flavor profiles to what I use to fill in, temporarily when I have trouble getting coffee from some of those regions.
Yeah, so other types of climates, we could talk about the political climate. We're moving into an election, and you probably hear in the coffee shop, since that's the place people come and chat with each other, some discussions around politics. Are those keeping calm, or are you hearing any? At
this point, they seem to be pretty calm. I know as election cycle grows closer, that it gets more and more volatile, I'll say. We're pretty fortunate here that most of our regular customers kind of lean away from it a little bit.
Yeah.
I have had times not long after I bought the business where it's come nearly to, fisticuffs, where people get into political conversations, and
right.
Everybody has their own views on what they think. And some people anchor pretty heavily in those, and they're not really that willing to listen or understand another person's point of view.
Right.
And it can get pretty heated sometimes. So thank goodness we haven't had too much of that yet.
The other thing you have here, which is kind of cool, and was sort of like part of making it happen, is conversations with council. Mm-hmm. So you actually get the council members to not be sitting behind a dais, not be in some official capacity. They come and two of them hang out and chat with the community.
Yeah, we do it once a month. And it's on the first Tuesday of every month. And like you said, we have a couple of council members come in. Anybody from the community can come in, and they can just, ask questions in a very casual environment where they don't have to stand at a podium, be recorded, and all of that. So it's a pretty relaxed dialogue, and there's some pretty hearty conversation that comes out of it on things that are going on around town, whether it's, road repair, purchase of land, parks. There's just a lot of things that people are curious about, and this is a good environment for them to come in and listen and learn.
Yeah, very cool. Anything else you wanna chat about? You think about that's going on? Around climates. We'll keep the topic going.
Yeah, I believe that our community is really working toward becoming a much more tourism friendly community. We're a small town, and I think that some of the events are really, really imperative to bringing tourists here and then keeping them here for a little while. And I think that's part of the key, is getting them to come and stay. And, we have a lot of events up here that are a day or, a few hours long. So it's pretty easy for people from out of the area to come up, attend the event, and leave. So what do we have here to attract them to stay? And, I think that's what the town council and the Chamber of Commerce and, other groups are always working toward.
Right. And I noticed we've got an RV place that's just out the town limits that's sitting out here in Penrod that's opened up. There's going to be a new one in Show Low as well. So there's going to be a lot more opportunity for people to come up, have their RV landed somewhere locally. And some people are like, don't understand RVing. They think you should go out and be in the middle of the woods.
Right.
But I'm the type of RVer that's inside the town, but you go there and you park, and then you're able to get your tow vehicle and drive around and do things.
Yeah.
And that really helps the economy.
It does help. It does help a lot. I mean, again, having activities and things for people to do is just paramount to the success of a small town like this one. And, you can come up here and go up to Sunrise as an example, and go biking in the summertime when the ski resort is inactive. And they have a lot of other activities. They're bringing a large archery event up there this year. That'll draw some people to town, and those go for several days. So it'll allow people the opportunity to stay, eat local, drink local,
To me, it's almost like I have more stuff to do in the summer because I got the bike riding, you got the hiking, you've got the roller coaster, you've got the zip line, and you've got the rock climbing, and it's like, and then the jump thing. You jump out and go in the big air pad. So I don't know.
There's always. We're always looking for new things to bring to the community. And I was talking to some of my fellow members of the Chamber of Commerce recently, and we were just talking about what are other things that we can do to drive people up here, and how do we communicate that the best way, right? Yeah. How do I communicate that down into Phoenix and down into Tucson? Aside from just word of mouth, we don't really do and can't really afford a ton of advertising. Radio, media, print, any of that type of stuff. So we kind of count on mostly word of mouth and social media pages to get the word out about, anything that might be going on.
You bet. Cool. Awesome. So once again, it's Mike Moffenbeyer with Pinetop Coffee and Roasting House. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you, Rob.
Go out, have fun, and don't forget to stop in and have a coffee.
Appreciate that.